Everyone. Hello. Can you hear me, Amir? You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you for joining us again on our day 2 of our IMF Congress. Again, I am Mark De Caso. I'm an architect and urban planner and currently the IMF president. And with the board, we have put together this IMF Congress to have an intense discussion about metropolitan planning management. And today, Amir, can you share with us the posters? Before?
Yes. Wait, please.
Okay. So today we'll be joined by 3 distinguished guests and speakers who will be sharing with us about metro sectors. Amir, can you share the poster?
Wait a minute, I have a technical issue here.
Okay. So we'll be joined by Olivier Crouzier, who will be sharing with us Metro Transport, the case of the Clark City development. We'll also be joined by Gabriela Ficini, who will be sharing with us Metro Environment. He was also one of the ones that was started the World Metropolitan Day, as I heard. Hope we can discuss that further later. And we'll also be joined by Muhammad Parva, who will be sharing with us Metro Heritage. So looking forward to the discussions. Again, everyone, feel free to share your questions in the post. We want this to be as engaging and participative as possible. This is a unique session. We would like to get as much feedback and really discuss the deep issues of challenges of metropolitan planning. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker. Oliver, are you there, Oliver? Oliver, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So how's?
I'm there. Yeah.
Okay. So are you able to share your screen?
I'll try to do so.
If not, it's okay. We can share your presentation. Just like to introduce first our first speaker, distinguished guest, who is currently in, I think, Tunisia, right, Olivier? So
yes, exactly.
He has 10 years experience in various. Let me just check. He is he's involved. He was involved with one of the projects that was close also to my art and profession practice, which is Clark City. He specializes in transport, in urban planning, metropolitan planning, and I think Olivia, you can share more about your approach, your topic. Yeah, without further ado, I present to you Olivier Crouzier. Olivier, the screen is yours.
Okay, okay, maybe my connection is a bit unstable, so I try to speak slow. So the issue is about new city development from scratch. And Clark City is a good example of this. So as a table of we have a first glance at new city, Clark City development. So maybe you will exclude my foresight-ness because short-sightedness because I'm more urban than metropolis in my description. So there's a definition of new cities. They are urban mega projects independent from existing cities, at least at the very beginning. You have many, in Asia, around 100 new cities have been planned and erected since the mid-90s. You don't even know their name. The number of Asia is about 200 new towns under development. And you have various focus. Either they are new politic centers, new hubs of logistic, new epicenter of trade, finance, and technology. So here is one. Yes.
Se apaga solo cuando termine el timer.
Sorry. Okay, you have the Chinese map with new cities. And then you have some like new capital cities that is forecast for Borneo in between 20 and 24, maybe later, because you have the problem in Jakarta of rising of water. So they plan to move the capital city. You have Colombo Port City. I don't want to go inside the description, but it's a brand new sector of the city, more related to port. And you have Songdo, that is an example that is based, that is really a base case for Clark development. So it's the reason why I mention it. So let's go to our issue, Clark City and Manila urban development issues. You will see that in the map of Philippines, you have the upper part, and you have between Manila and New Clark cities, you have many cities that are in development or developed already. And the distance between Manila and Clark is around 80 kilometers. And you have Clark City is like a dipole. You have two different type of urbanization. One is called CFZ and the other is New Clark City. And you will see later on. So when I mentioned, it was elaborated, designed by Pedro Ortiz in 2012, and it just presented the different cities. And what I was saying is that CFZ and New Clark cities were located outside of the map of Pedro Ortiz. Then I was mentioning at the time that this boo-boo came, that the population is above 17 millions. And you have a lot of bottlenecks. You have a lot of trouble with cars, like cars packed in the street. When you go to the airport, it takes you 2 or 3 hours to get from your home for your office or your home to the airport. It's crazy. So this is the map that I was presenting the different projects. You have LRTs, MRTs, just to tell you that a lot of development in terms of transport have been done until now, but the main thing is that the frequency, the headways are very slow, very low, and that brings a lot of trouble because people don't rely on urban transport. So about the new commuter north-south commuter train, it's about 140 kilometers going with different type of services, commuters, an airport limited express that is supposed to go at a very high speed, like 160 kilometers, and you have a connection with the subway. And when you see the map I was presenting, there is a connection with the subway in the CBD. So it will bring a lot. So now I was willing to present you some basic figures about the Metro Manila. Metro Manila is composed of 16 cities and a municipality. In order to create or to develop Clark, you have a state-run company that is called BCDA, Base Conversion Development Authority, to transform former military base in an urban development. And that gives a lot of opportunities. You have more than 9,500 hectares, 9,500 of master development plan. It's including airport. This is a very good advantage because it's supposed that a lot of economic development could be. The main game was to develop an eco-city based upon Bonifacio in Makati. It's been done or developed by the Koreans and based on design Koreans. And so the case is like it's this one, Bonifacio, and the Clark is trying to follow up and to improve compared to Bonifacio. So you have 5 districts ensuring government centers, academic district, industrial zone, wellness and tourist district, incentive for investors. It's addressing urban migration. That is good because it blocks people from coming to Manila CBD. It will be like a large number of workers will be set up and working in the Clark region, not going to Manila. So that's good news for Manila. And so creation of, it's indeed, it costs a lot of money, about 36 billion. No, it will bring some 13 for Philippines. So the benchmark for Clark City is the South Korean Business District. You have an involvement of Philippine Green Building Council and Urban Institute. You have some links with Michigan Ross Business School. And in 2016, there was a master plan with Philippine-Japan Initiative, PhilCoe, and ACOM. In 2017, road network definition. In 2019, there was an unsolicited proposal from Megawide to develop an urban transport based on BRT and LRT. And then in 2019, I was involved in a transport plan review with the ADB. So just to tell you that it takes not that long, it takes about 4 years to have a definition of this Clark development. So here are some pictures. You have a new Clark cities and Clark free zone. It's at a distance of at least 30 kilometers, one from each other. It's what I call the dipole. And you have the urban development on a map on the right. I don't want to take too much time on this, but these 30 kilometers one from each other, from New Clark City to Clark Freeport Zone. You have the development for CFZ. It's a proposed land use in 2068. You have how it will be presented, or it would look like, sorry, for New Clark City. You have a green zone and you have a lot of development for an urban zone, and you can see the urban planning on this. So here is the description of the master plan. You have a population of 1 million people and about 600,000 jobs by 2065. And you can see how it looked like. Three steps of development: 2022, 2040, and 2065. And the main issue is, like, when you develop a new city from scratch, it takes long to get all these. So you can see it's like it will take 40 years. So you have to set up a new railway system. You have to set up an urban network, also a urban transport network. And then it will be developing for like 40 years. So here is what was existing in 2019, only a stadium that was created for Asian Games. And then this is the plan in the future, like 2060. All of this will be developed. Some greenery, a road grip that is linked to the needs of the new cities, the new city. And then we had a big discussion about how to create a BRT network based on the existing or on the forecast road network. And so doing so, we delivered some design of the new parts, the different part of the city, starting from the transport to going back to urbanization. And we had some discussion with this, and I want to go clearly to the next subject. So my comments, it's very difficult to set up an attractive city from scratch. Its attractiveness should be developed quite quickly, and the railway link between Manila and NCC is very important. Having two urban development at 30 kilometers, one of each front from each other doesn't help, but having an airport in CFZ could be considered as an opportunity for development. The population of CFZ NCC appears actually to be too reduced to set up a very effective Manila satellite. Why? Because you have on one side Manila with, let's say, more than 17 million inhabitants, and on the other part you will have only a city with 1 to 2 million. So it appears to be a bit like it's not the Earth and Moon, but it's much like it's too small. So we think it should be necessary to have a large population. The ridership is too small. When we did this computation, we noticed that it was much too small. And then what was proposed for developing the urban transport network was through an unsolicited proposal, and it was difficult, and we noticed that many input data were missing, like tariff policy, ridership, real estate value, and that was like very difficult to have a definition for, let's say, 30 years from scratch and not having all the data at the beginning. So now I go back to you, Mark.
Great, thank you, Olivier. Very interesting and concise presentation. Thank you for staying within the time limit. Yeah, let's jump in. So for those who have questions, please post your questions in the comment section. But let me start the ball rolling, Olivier. So I understand there are a lot of challenges because this is a totally new city. It's in an area where, if you're familiar with Mount Pinatubo, the explosion really affected not just the Philippines but around the globe. So also the setup of BCDA is quite unique because it's a sort of a semi-private, but it's a government-owned corporation. So I'm interested to hear your experiences. I remember when we had our session last time with Milena, you mentioned that you failed. There was a failure. So I wanted to hear more about that. If you remember, last session we were discussing a bit about transport already, and you opened up that there was some failure in terms of I'm not sure what particular. Yeah,
yes,
maybe you can elaborate on that.
Can I elaborate on this? Yes, the main issue was to set up the institutional framework for Cebu in that case. And for Clark City, the issue is about the same, because you see you have BCDA. BCDA is a good body to make some development, but it is not what we call the metropolis leader. So it's good for time. It helps to develop this part of the city, but it's not enough. You have to have a special organization for metropolis, and it doesn't exist until now. And for Cebu, that was the case. We just bundle some municipality and trying to make them very to be proactive for the BRT project we had with Milena. And
Olivier, are you there? Hello. I agree with you. There's a challenge in terms of setting up the metropolitan body, but correct me if I'm wrong. But isn't it there is a Metro Clark Development Authority? Oh, I know I don't know if it's an authority already, but sort of a coordinating body. Can you hear me, Olivier? Anyway, we have a question from the floor. IMFWE, care to share your question? You can open your mic and please chat. Yeah.
I've seen on the plan, you're planning the whole new infrastructure that's the people has to develop there, but you also plan 500,000 of jobs. But what kind of jobs you would generate more solar powers, more food, more what?
Thank you for the question, Clemens. That's a valid question. I'm quite familiar with the area also. And Olivier, are you there? Do you have a response to that? I don't know if Olivier.
yes, I had some trouble with my connection.
It's okay.
Maybe you didn't get the point I was trying to explain you. The discussion with Milena was about how to set up an institutional framework in Cebu or in Manila, and we made a lot of efforts to get this settled. And apart from the technical definition of the project, we needed to have real partners, strong partners, and it never happened.
Okay.
And so for Cebu, we got a good support from OPAV. That was some kind of we call them préfet in France. That was about.
Okay, in relation to that answer, Olivier, maybe before I mention the question that was brought out by Clemens later, let me just follow through. Based on what you're saying right now, where the local government units don't have that capacity or to merge, or there's a challenge in terms of institutional framework. Do you think that they should be addressed nationally at the national level in terms of formalizing these metropolitan bodies? Interesting to hear your thoughts on this also from your perspective. Olivier, I think, is having trouble with his connection. There's another question. Someone is raising his hand. Amir, who is that raising his hand?
This is me, Firas.
Hello, Shiraz. Yes, please shoot. Well, Olivier is having trouble, yeah, but you can share your question.
Okay, good afternoon. This is Firas from Jordan, Amman, from the Middle East. My question is, based on our government is now taken by the idea of making a new metropolitan city, as Amman is already a metropolitan city with 4.5 million inhabitants. And we have a severe transportation problems, fatal actually one. Recently, we have a new project of BRT, but it's not efficient as it doesn't serve the whole city. My question is, what is better, to spend more money enhancing the existing metropolitan city in terms of transportation and open spaces, or to build another city, a new capital for Jordan, from your experience? Thank you very much.
Firas, apologies, but Olivier just connected again. Olivier, I'm not sure if you got that question, but are you there, Olivier? Can you hear me? Just to make sure you're there already, you're back, Olivier.
Yeah, I'm back. Just
Okay,
back.
okay. So there's another question. Firas, would you be so kind to repeat your question so Olivier can hear it?
Okay, my question again. In Amman, I'm from Amman, Jordan, the Middle East. Our government is now taken by the idea of making a new metropolitan city. Amman is already a metropolitan city with 4.5 million inhabitants. We have a severe transportation problems. And recently we have a new project of BRT, but it's not efficient as it doesn't serve the whole city yet. My question is it better to make a new metropolitan city near Amman as the government is planning, or to spend more money to enhance the current infrastructure and transportation systems within the city?
Wow, that's a tough question. I guess I doesn't know exactly the situation. Sorry, Firas, but I guess it would be good to try to improve what you have now. Opinion. Try to fix what you have and then go for another step. But just one small advice.
Why?
Why? Because I guess you have, you know, in big cities like I've been living in Hanoi. In Hanoi, you have a lot of trouble of congestion, and they try to develop an eco-city on the other side of the Red River. And that was good, very good. But at the time, only maybe one about 20 people is happy with the new city that is developed, but the old city is decaying or has the same issues. So try to fix the old city is a good thing also, or maybe you should do both.
Yeah,
But
personally,
it's my
I'm with
opinion.
Okay, thank you. Personally, I'm with fixing the situation in the current city, not going to a new one and keeping the old Amman in this bad situation concerning transportation. But the government is with the other. The government is with the other side, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that, Firas, for that question. Pedro they posted a publication here. Pedro, would you like to briefly share about this for the benefit
first,
of
yes, I would like to discuss that, but first, Milena is raising her hand.
Okay, Milena, please, yeah. Milena.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good afternoon or evening, Olivier. Yes, can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, I can see you also.
Hello. Okay. So, Olivier, my question for you is about this metropolitan scale for Clark City. I understand it's like a satellite, like another capital city. It's another, the government of Philippines, they want to make this like the government center. They are moving a lot of facilities, a lot of functions to Clark City. In your perspective, is this a successful measure? And if it is so, how is the commuters' tendency between Clark and Metro Manila? Because already Metro Manila is an extended city, and they are extending another attraction pole for those high intense commuters. So I see there is a BRT network inside Clark, but still the connection between Clark and Manila or Metro Manila is not even in the discussion for the government. So in your perspective, how do you see this decision is made, by whom? And if it's okay to translate or to move all these government functions to Clark, and with the tendency of the commuters, how the problem could be resolved between Metro Manila and Clark. Thank you.
Thank you for this last question, Milena. And I can see that you have been thinking about this. The problem is that, you have, the government has been doing a lot of effort with this north-south commuter railway line. So it will be changing the situation, I guess, for the, but if these workers for like administrative center or like ministries are living now in Manila, they have to do the trip back and forth. And the objective would be to settle people next to their new job location. And I don't know how it could be done, but the new Clark City is developed with a nice model. It should be more like an eco-city with more like an easy way of living. So if people want to settle in the city where they work, that would be good. So there will be a transition period where people still have their home in Manila, they have to commute, and then after a while, let's say, hopefully, they will settle in this new city. Did I answer to your question, Milena? How do you feel about that?
Yes, I just, yes, no, it's like, honestly, the best way to resolve it is to resolve the proximity of people from job centers to the services. But still, there is a transition point because it's still, I have seen so many people living in Manila, in Metro Manila, and then they have to go all the way 3 hours to Clark. No? And we experienced that when we were working there. And it's quite a headache, no, just to go for a meeting 3 hours to another city where the government functions are and where still the residential areas are not too developed or not too in a high quality offer, no, to go nearby Clark. Still, I think the main issue for metropolitan development should be to resolve the problem, the connection between Clark and Metro Manila. No, it's not resolved, and still, I think they will have the same problem with Clark as Makati and Bonifacio. No, they have these enclosure cities, and they are not able to connect with anything. So yes, just.
Yeah, you're right. It's like it's a pending issue. Hopefully it could be solved in 2 years' time, or so, let's see, a little bit longer if it's not working well. But you're right. The situation is bad currently. You're right.
Let me jump in also, Olivier, thank you, and Milena. That's a very interesting question, and I think that has to be resolved. And Olivier, I don't know if 2 years will be enough time to solve that, but I think the context also for Clark is quite unique because, for one, there's this notion that they're putting together the new Clark City also because of the danger of the possibility of the big earthquake hitting Metro Manila anytime soon. So that's they're preparing that area. Secondly, the international airport, the Clark International Airport, is being expanded, and let's see if that helps. And, but in terms of the connection to Metro Manila, I agree, Milena, that's a problem because my experience is also it takes me 2 to 3 hours coming from Metro Manila going to Clark. It's quite an inconvenience to commuters. The rail line that's being developed, it will take a lot of time. But yeah, that's a discussion that's really worth deep diving into further. But thank you for that question. Pedro, you'd like to share your
Yes, thank you.
document? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Well, on this Clark issue, the location of Clark is good because it's very close to the rail tracks. If it's not, if the rail tracks don't go there, so you can have the commuter system, and that was part of my report in 2012. And it is an obvious location, and it's great. The issue there is, should it be a new town? Or because they are using the land and the airport of the American base, the American military base of Clark City. So doesn't Manila need another airport to the north? Because they only have the airport to the south, and that airport could have been an economic airport, and that would have been the center of all that north development of Manila metropolises. And instead of making a kind of fake new town, fake new capital, like in many other places, and I'm going to comment on Fira's question. Instead of doing that, they should have had a larger vision, not short-sighted, a larger vision of Clark Airport as the base of a new economic development for export through planes and so on and so on. So maybe the location is good. 2 years for a commuter train is nothing. They should have put the commuter train before the project, obviously, but you cannot ask the authorities to be intelligent enough. And well, 2 years is not much, so we can wait for that. And the question is, should have been a new capital or a new administrative center, or should have been keeping the runaways, an airport with an economic vision to develop all that valley that goes up to San Carlos. And that was part of one of the maps that Olivier has presented that were part of my report, where Clark City was part of that proposal. No? On the question on Firas, which is similar, you see, Firas, if you propose, and Mark is going to smile because he has heard me many times say this, no? If you have to propose a new city, when you have been appointed or elected to manage the actual city, it means that you are saying that you don't know how to manage the actual city. And that's why you are proposing something elsewhere, heaven instead of earth, no? You are proposing that, well, this life is terrible, but in heaven, things are going to be wonderful, no? So if you don't know how to manage the city you have been appointed or elected for, what you should do is resign. So I totally agree with you that the main issue is to manage well the city that you already have, which is a lot of investment. The largest investment in the world are cities. You know, that is our main capital investment. So if you don't know how to manage that capital, resign, but do not throw that capital away, you know, because you are throwing away the potential of a country. And if you want to know the solution for a man, I have put in the chat a link to a report made for the World Bank on a man a few years ago. I don't remember when, probably in 2011 or something like that. But obviously, when you want to do logarithmic mathematics, you must know arithmetic mathematics, because if not, you're not going to be, and probably the people in Jordan, in Amman, that read that report did not understand the report, and nothing was done about, no? But the solution for Amman is over there. Have a look. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. Yes, I've heard you say that a number of times. If you do not know how to manage. Let's go to Akriti. Akriti, please feel free to shoot your question to Olivier or to Akriti. Can you hear me?
Yeah, actually, mine was not a question. I was just trying to comment on the Indian state of Telangana. So they planned a new capital on 400 square kilometer, 220 square kilometer. It's a huge land, and they planned, and they could not execute what they planned. It was exactly how Pedro sir said, that they planned a heaven and it turned out really bad. So now it's a half developed piece of, you know, a vast area which could not be developed properly. There were political conflicts and a lot of different things. So my point was also that I'm in for something which is, trying to develop or trying to understand what is going on in the current city, rather than, going and trying to develop a new capital for that. So obviously, in the case of Telangana, the state had a reorganization and we needed a new capital. So they wanted to develop a capital right from scratch on vacant land, and it went drastically wrong. So that was just, I wanted to share that out of experience in India, things have gone wrong. So I'm in for development, trying to develop nothing new.
Thank you so much, Akriti. Yeah, I think that's something worth noting. Olivier, would you like to respond to that?
Just a small answer. I guess it's quite easy for politicians to develop a new concept and to get rid of a bad current situation. So they launch a balloon. It's for their clients and for the citizens, to make the citizen dream about something, and then there is nothing realistic. But that small comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier. Constant Cap has a very interesting comment. Would you care to share, Constant?
Oh yeah, it's just that in kind of like what in line with what Pedro is saying. If we have this idea that we're going to solve our problems by taking the same people who are managing the city to a new city, and then the same people who are living in this city and running it down and throwing, you imagine people who litter all over the city go to live in the new city. They're not going to stop littering in that new city. The people who don't provide utility services and then are sent to provide utility services to the new city, we'll just end up replicating the same problems that we have. Basically that, yeah. Because at the end of the day, remember, the city is about citizens. You can have all the nice infrastructure that you want, but if the people don't want to change, the people will not change.
It's a really very interesting insight, also, Constant. And I think the case in Clark City is also, as you mentioned, it's about the people. And right now, it's a green space, vacant area, and I fully agree that the worst case scenario may be a replication of the mistakes in Metro Manila. Olivier, do you have a comment on that, to what Constant mentioned?
Yeah, yes, I guess I would like to give some positive view on this, like just to try to bring some food for thought. I think in the case of Manila and the creation of Clark, it was to have some kind of eco-city designed in a better way than Manila. And so there was this example of Bonifacio that was like more easy to live, and they wanted to have a new city that would be with better living conditions. But it doesn't solve everything. Even if you have a good urban planning, you have to make the people dislocate, and that was what Milena was mentioning, the difficulty of dislocating people for hours. And so the design is good, the location is good, the airport is probably a very nice advantage and a good opportunity to develop economy. But you need some time, some extra time to get a good situation. That's my view.
Thank you, Olivier. Pedro and Milena, you have something to add before we shift to the next session?
Yes, commenting on Constant comment, which is absolutely accurate. The issue with these new towns is that we did one in Madrid 60 years ago, something like that. It took 31 years to break even financially. So for 31 years, we had to spend enormous amount of money that were not spent on the issues of the actual population, providing for that kind of heaven, a lot of money, and obviously is not economically efficient. Maybe in 3 centuries it will be, but not in the short term, because you are taking money from where the problems are to create a new one. The second thing, and Constant did not mention that, but because it's that this kind of project is a political project by a political guy, the president or whatever, that he doesn't want to take responsibilities of the mess, and he proposes the alternative heaven that will never happen, because a city takes 30 years to be built. And you have to spend a lot of money, a lot of the public budget into that. So the guy who makes the decision is ready to spend that money. But the next guy doesn't want to spend the money of the project of the previous president that he's not going to inaugurate. As a politician, he'd rather use that money in something that will make his own political benefit. So normally this kind of new towns in Africa or everywhere, they start with a lot of money by a politician that wants to present heaven as a solution, and then they fall back because the next one and the next one, even if they are from the same party, start to put less and less money, and at the end is an empty space with just a plantation of lighting. And Constant knows the example in Mumbai, in Nairobi, of Keto City, I think it's called, in the south, where there is only 3 or 4, well, a bit more buildings. A lot of money have been poured there, and it's not anymore a project feasible for the future. Isn't it, Constant?
Yeah, you have Konza Techno City in south of Nairobi that only has 1 building and a few temporary structures for engineers.
Yes, and it has been a project going on for 12 years, something like that, with 1 building. So it's all fake projects. Whenever a politician offers you that proposal, ask him to resign.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Constanta. Milena, you have something to add? Milena.
Yes, I maybe just to add a little bit more in the debate, maybe we can have another session when to create a new city or when it's not a good idea. I just got in mind Curitiba. Curitiba was a totally new planned city and it's working very well. So it's worth to check what were the politics at the time. It was maybe 60, 70 years ago, maybe, I don't know, or 50 years ago. I'm not sure about the time, but I know it was the first city to implement the BRT system. It has a balanced economy, a balanced and affordable housing. So it's quite an equitable city to live in, but it's a middle-sized city. It's not like a big city, 8-10 million people. No, it's a middle-sized city. So another city that is coming in my mind is we have a catastrophe years ago, maybe 30 years ago in Colombia for a volcano eruption, a volcano catastrophe. So a whole city was erased, no? It was awful, but at the time, the policy here was to relocate the people in another cities. But with the time, the people relocate themselves in places near to the old city. So they have to start a new city because the city is also like a cultural and social construction, no? It's not like just to have infrastructure, no? So even if you try to relocate people in other places, the people will join together following some social construction. So I think it's matter to have maybe another discussion because it's very interesting when to create or when not to create a new city. So I just wanted to bring this in the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milena. I fully agree with you. This deserves a debate. Olivier, do you have any final words before we shift to the next session? Yeah.
Yes, I guess there would be probably some good session, as Milena mentioned, about what are the conditions to get a success instead of having a crash at the end of it. So what are the success measures and mitigation measures to take when you deal with a newborn city or a temptation of creating a new city? That would be nice. We can work on this a bit.
Thank you so much, Olivier.
Thank you for this.
I think that's really a good and interesting session, and I think the main takeaway here is it's good to have that continuous debate. Maybe we can invite you again, and then all of those who had experience in setting up new cities, and let's see the lessons learned. And I think that's something that Clark can learn from. Personally, I'm very aware of what's happening there, and I think that all of these lessons will be much appreciated, and just to make sure that we don't replicate the mess in Metro Manila and so forth. Thank you, Olivier. I really appreciate your presentation and your time. Feel free to stay. We'll proceed to the next session.